great. Now we come to the types of crops, that is the second type, which are shrubs and trees, right? So these shrubs are crops which are grown as shrubs and trees. They are also called as plantation. Like we know, coffee plantation, tea plantation, right? Because these are all not herbs, these are all shrubs and trees. Or else they would also known as orchards or farms, right? Or they could also be called as forests. Like we say tea plantation, coffee plantation, cocoa plantation, mango, apple, guava, plum, orchards, rose garden, right? So there are different names associated with all these things, correct? So basically, maybe, we could have just ignored roses here because it's not a part of agriculture, it's a part of horticulture. So remaining everything, if you see, these are part of agriculture. These fall under the crop category, right? So these, some of them are temperature specific. For example, if you see tea and coffee, right? They would not, to an extent also plum, but majorly tea, coffee, apple and orange. They would require very, minimal temperature. That's the reason why they're mostly, found in the hilly areas on the mountain sides. For example, you will find all the tea gardens in Darjeeling, Assam, right? Those places, very cold hilly areas, right? Whereas coffee plant, Munnar, yes, Nilgiris, Uti. Now, whereas, coffee can tolerate still a little bit of, heat. So if you come down from the mountains, then you will start seeing the coffee plantations, right? Kurg, Uti and all that places. If you come a little further down, then you will find cocoa. Cocoas can be grown in the plains, right? Now, depending on which area cocoa plantation is being done, they have different flavors. For example, Africa is such a hot, arid area. There, they do cocoa plantation. There, the taste and flavor of cocoa is very different from the cocoa which is grown maybe in Malaysia or in Bali or Indonesia. So depending on which soil it is growing, what is the amount of water it is getting, sunlight, rainfall it is getting. Yes, the cocoa triangle. Yes, very good. Good, Veda. Why don't you throw some light on the cocoa triangle? Cocoa not really is a staple food. It's not really a staple food. A staple food is mainly always the cereals. Cocoa is kind of an accompaniment which will be served as dessert. Veda, why don't you unmute yourself and talk something about the cocoa triangle?
Ma'am, I don't remember the three countries, but there's a rich amount of cocoa present in that cocoa triangle, and it is the largest producer of chocolate in the world.
So which are the countries?
Ma'am, I actually don't remember.
Okay, so basically, if you say the cocoa triangle, there is, I guess, it's somewhere near the African belt, as I was saying. There is a place called,
It's
Ghana.
mainly Ghana. Yeah.
Ghana, yeah. It's near Ghana that, they really grow very, very, very good quality cocoa. And that's normally the bitter cocoa that's been derived from there. Right? So that belt has a lot of rich cocoa in it. Good, very good. Okay, so now that we are done with Takoradi, Kumasi and Accra. Okay, good. Okay, now we come to food production and farm management. Now that we have identified what are the herbs, what are cereals, we are actually behaving like farmers. We are trying to identify our crops. Now we know which season what to grow. Now we've done the harvesting also. But now we have to kind of manage the production, right? How and what, when should we do, what should we do so that the productivity is good, so that the quality is good, right? India, as all of you know, primarily is an agricultural country. right? A lot of our, commerce comes from the agriculture, right? So wherever there is agriculture, water would be very, very important because it is important for growing the crops, right? And mainly the farmers are dependent on rain because just imagine acres and acres and acres of land, a few kilometers of land. How far can you put in pipes and then, do watering of all the field? It is impossible. Still, farmers try and do irrigation, from a nearby water body, maybe a river or a lake, or they dig up bore wells, and they try and do irrigation, but that's not sufficient because the enormous amount of water that it requires, it cannot be fulfilled by, man-made artificial ways. So they have to be dependent on rain. They have to be, yes, they take motors, they use sprinklers, boring pipes, bore wells, uh, manually they do so many things, but that's not sufficient. They natural is, they always to an extent, they have to be dependent on the rain. And years when the rain is less or scanty or poor, farmers had it. The entire year's mehnat, the hard work, the savings, it's all down the drains if there is poor rainfall. So you must have heard of villagers, farmers, performing special pujas so that they have more rains that year, right? So there are certain festivals, harvest festival and, sowing festival, and we have Pongal and so many festivals, marking all this because, our entire economy is dependent on agriculture, right? So that is about food production and food management. Now there's a huge portion, left to